Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm your host, Michelle Stern. So, today I will be focusing on comments, and I'll be focusing on particular comments that I have been getting for quite some time now from my subscribers, yes, and loyal viewers. You have been sending me messages, and I want to highlight one or two of them, and I'm going to make a very interesting response. And I hope everybody will stay with me and just listen to what it is that I have to say in response to some comments that the subscribers have been saying. Yes, for some time now. But before I continue, may I ask everyone, please, can you give the video a thumbs up? Please go ahead, give the video a thumbs up and share as well as subscribe if you have not yet done so. And remember, feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. And of course, I want to say thank you for doing so. Great. So, we're going to begin with a comment from Joni Buller. Hi, Joni. How are you, my darling? Yes. You're very passionate about your politics and you're very passionate about Jamaica. And like all of us, you want to see good for your country. It's just a matter of how we bring about that good. Yes. So, you're saying good morning, Jamaica 411. Late, but I am still here keeping you company. So you know how long Joni has been with me from the very beginning. Yes. She went on to say, learning so much from you. Thank you, my professor. You are such a brilliant person. Hoping one day, and this is it, hoping one day the prime minister give you a job in the Senate, you would do good there. Well, Joni, I don't know because the Senate, yes, it is a nice spot to be, and you will be able to influence law. And the laws are what govern the country, the do's and the don'ts, and so on. And yes, I could make an impact because I have many ideas, and ideas are translated into public policy through the use of legislation. So, yes, so for example, I have an idea or two about, well, insofar as the needs is concerned, I think that needs to widen in terms of the the use that it could be to all of us. For example, it would allow the government to have some information that will help it to plan better for all of us. So, NIDS right now comprises the NIRA, the National Identification Registration Authority, I do believe that's what it's called. And under NIRA comes the RGD department, that is Registrar General Department. I don't know if it still remains an executive agency, but it's under NIRA. So NIRA now will be able to access the birth, death, marriage, divorce, and all them kind of something. I think divorce is kept there as well, the record. Now, I am thinking that if we're going to go that route, it might be good to add PICA, the Passport and Immigration um, Citizenship Authority, I do believe that's what it means, PICA. PICA now, they handle the immigration, persons coming in and out of the island. So if you already know how many persons are born and how many persons die, then the next thing to know is how many persons left and never return. That would give you a rough idea as to how many persons are in the country from day to day or month to month or year to year, as the case may be. And then you have the tourists that are coming in and visitors that are coming in. All of that is kept by PICA. So I would think that it would be an excellent addition to put PICA under the authority of NIRA. And NIRA is the one that's responsible for NIDS, National Identification System, issue the cards and so on. Okay, now I also think that it could be helpful and very useful to the matter of national security if the criminal records were also put under the control, I suppose, of Naira. So persons who wish to find out or confirm whether, somebody that is applying to them for either a job or a visa or, whatever it is that requires some idea of the party, whether you have a criminal record or not, then they will be able to apply through Naira and get that information instead of you having to go sit down at Duke Street or Namantigo Bay or wherever with other people and then you have to come back. No, they could simply apply, and on the system itself, they would have the information as to whether you committed a crime, yes or no, whether you were deported. They can even expand it to that. Doesn't necessarily mean you won't get the job, but at least the people know where you stand. Now, I don't know if the criminal registry at the moment is computerized. If not, that means they're going to have to put in a system and start to upload the files or upload the information and so on and so forth. So that is another entity that they can put on the Naira. And then now you have a very efficient system that saves us a lot of time and trouble. You have the card. The card is, this is a digital card. The digital card with a chip on it. And for those persons who getting antsy about, remember that your credit card and your debit card also has a chip in it. You understand? Yes. So it is a card that identifies you, and it is a card that can be used online to do mainly government business. We can also use the NITS card to replace the voter ID card. Why? Because the NITS cards has features that can be verified. I believe that the ECJ should be the superior body. As a matter of fact, let me change that. If my memory serves me right, the ECJ is the superior body and Naira falls under them, and already we're in business. So now it's a matter of using the NIDS card as the national ID, replacing the voter ID card. Here is a benefit of that. NIDS right now has a weakness. And the weakness with NIDS is that they are unable to verify that you really live at that address. Yes, you must bring in a utility bill as proof of address. But under the electoral system, you have scrutineers and the EOJ people that go out and verify where the person lives. So NIDS would benefit from that organization that already exists with the ECJ, the EOJ, and the EOJ would then benefit from the fact that you have an ID now that can be validated. All they need is an equipment, a UV equipment, put the card under it, and it will tell them whether or not the card is genuine. So both systems would benefit from the merger, which is what it is that I'm proposing, that the systems should merge. So the EOJ will still exist, and so will NIDS as separate entities, but the systems will merge. Now, that's just one idea. Another one that I have, and I see where I do believe I saw it in the JLP's manifesto, is that we need to do something about this idea about, especially in rural areas, where you have properties with no street names and no street numbers. That has to change. And I frankly don't know what is a big deal. I don't think you need a law. I think perhaps if the Ministry of Local Government should set it as public policy for all the municipal corporations, start the process of naming streets and numbering properties, then they will have to do it. Of course, they'll need money to do so as well. So that is something that we need to get going. So that's just two of my suggestions. Now, would I be effective in the Senate? I don't know, because you have in the Senate the two parties, PNP or JLP, senators. The Governor General does not have the opportunity to appoint persons. Therefore, it's strictly on a political basis that people exist in the Senate. I don't know that it is wise for persons in the Senate to be pushing their own agenda rather than the party's overall policy agenda. You follow what I'm saying? So that may not work so much. So I want to thank Joni for the suggestion. Very kind of you to think that I will make a useful contribution to the Senate. But let me look and see if anybody else have any other suggestions, and then I'll tell you what my views are. So now we have Denton Henry. And Denton said, love you. Well, it's supposed to be Michelle. You're so intelligent. You're supposed to be part of the government. God bless you, my sister. Now, Denton messaged me to tell me that he had served in the army with my father. So, Denton is a big man and he thinks that I should be part of government too. And I replied, as a former army man, where best do you think I should serve? But I don't recall if I got a response. But that is Denton's sentiments, that I should be part of the government and think that I might be able to make myself useful too to everybody in the country. So let's read on to see if there are any other such similar sentiments. Now, these three comments came under the very same video that I had posted. Is Mark Golding's US investments legit? So I do believe that's my last video. And here it is, Naphtali, how is it pronounced? Naphtali Israel. He's saying, I seriously believe that the finance minister should add you to her finance team, perhaps as a finance forensic investigator. And I said, thank you, but no, sir. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I don't think I'd be very good in the Ministry of Finance, too restrictive. My response to Naphtali was, you certainly have high ambitions for me, Naphtali. See, I know how to pronounce it now. Thank you, but I would prefer to get my hands on the Participatory Governance Framework program that is under Brother Desmond's local government ministry. I have a few ideas for that program that would send Jamaica into the stratosphere and solve a lot of our problems in no time flat. And that is what I have to say to you today. I want to tell you something about that participatory governance framework program and why I became attracted to it in the first place. Now, as I recall, I was doing some research in the Gleaner archives, and I don't know how I saw it. Maybe it was on a page that I had looked up something else and saw it. And it was about this program that was first put in place under Norman Manley. At the time when he had established it, it was called the Jamaica Social Welfare Commission. It then was renamed the Social Development Commission in 1965. So when Norman Manley established this commission, it was in 1958, and it was to replace another entity that he had introduced in 1937 called the Jamaica Welfare Limited, right? And it was being funded from, I believe it was a tax or a contribution from the banana industry. And it was to, help people in the communities, I think, to set up small businesses, I think. The whole intent of it was to alleviate poverty, which was rampant in those days, more than so these days. So that was it. So I was reading this article. I screenshotted where it is. I don't know. So I'm going by memory now. And I read it. And I was reading it. And then I got fascinated by it. What fascinated me? Norman Manley came up with this program. And in 1965, Buster changed it. What he changed was the name and just changed up a few things. And by extension, made it his own. I found that amusing because there it is again. Buster got one over on his cousin, took his good idea and made it his own by simply changing the name, changing up one or two things, but most of all, everything else stays the same. But it was while I was reading the article, something caught me eye. The reference to the Jamaica Youth Corps, and this was what it said more or less. It said more or less, as part of the mandate of the Jamaica Social Welfare Commission, they were responsible for the Jamaica Youth Corps, if my memory serves me right, about what the article was saying. And it says here, and this is what I had to Google in order to, refresh my memory. It was charged with administering the Jamaica Youth Corps and providing training in community living, agricultural skills, and vocational development. But it was where they said providing training to these members of the Youth Corps in community living. It shocked me no end. Why did it shock me? Because I said to myself, where now man get that from? Where now man get this idea from that youths need to be trained in community living? It stands to reason that if you're in a community, right, you're going to do what your family says you should do, go to school, and they're going to try and give you as good an education as possible. When you get big now, you try and see if you can find yourself a spouse and have children. That's it. So when I saw this thing about training in community living, I said, but kiss my clothes. But this is very interesting. This coming like when our my ancestors I talked to him. Because this idea of um, being trained into how you should live in a community is actually from our ancestral home on the continent, right? And so I said, let me look and see if the PMP the teeth it back. Because how it appears to me is that Norman come up with a good idea, Buster recognize, but him now leave it in a Norman's name. He might take it for himself. So it was that now that amused me. And the fascination of this part that I had seen, I decided to do a little further checks to see if, again, the PMP or who had renamed it and taken it on as their own. And it was in that process now that I realized that it became the Social Development Commission. And then they had this program called the Participatory Governance Framework Program. And then I read it. And let me tell you, sit me brain nearly bust I read it, because, every subject has its own language. And this language here nearly bust my brain. And I read it and understood what it is that they were saying. And I said to myself, I mean, with the intention of the SDC, it seems to me that there is more that can be done with this system. It's an existing system. And if it is organized the way in which it was intended to, this could be a game changer in terms of improving the quality of life of the people of this country, safeguarding a lot of other things too. And I said to myself, Mike, I sit down and think this thing through. And I've been thinking about it. I make my notes so that I not forget. And I said to myself, I would dearly love to get my hand on this program. Just to give you a few hints, the program is about communities and community development and youths, especially in these communities. But it extends to other things such as community-based organizations, not just youths, any other type of organization. And they have a structure. There are 775 to 785 communities. And in the communities, you have committees, and then they divide up the 775 into 73 development areas. That's the basic structure. And from there, they have another committee. And I suppose how it is structured, they are to be like what you would call them now, persons who are advocating for certain things from government. So they are part of a governance structure, but in a way, they seem to be more advocates than anything else. And the thing that struck me about the Participatory Governance Framework Program is that this program has been in place for quite some time, and yet you don't see the evidence of what it is doing. In other words, I am not saying that they're not accomplishing things. I'm not saying that these committees are not making proposals and things are put in place, but there is no evidence of any change that is going on as you drive along the roadway. You're not seeing it. Now, this is my experience. What is yours? If you're driving on the road and you're passing the communities that you've been passing for years, Are you seeing any noticeable difference? If I had not read about the Social Development Commission, I would not have known that this big thing existed. You follow what I'm saying? So, one of the things that this framework should do, if it is going to be effective, and it's an excellent idea, structured excellently, but if it is going to be effective, you have to see progress. You have to see that it is accomplishing something. And that, to me, you're not seeing it. Now, it may be that the 5,000 community based organizations are doing personal work, social work, and they might be doing a lot of things and maybe a lot of things, but it's not being seen. You understand? And I look at this and I said to myself, there is so much that this could accomplish. First of all, they seem to be focused on community based organizations, but these associations don't include everybody. And I think the first thing that a community governance framework should do is be inclusive of every single person in that community. The present structure and organization of the Participatory Governance Framework Program, in my view, is excellent. It is excellent as it is now. But in my view, for what it can accomplish, it requires restructuring to realize the potential of this governance program. Restructuring and reorganization. What potential are we talking about? First of all, we need to get all of the community members involved. And we're talking about age group. When we say all, we mean all age group involved, from the old to the young. It has to be a structure that needs to be reorganized to encourage participation of all age group in the community. That's what I'm saying. And the center or the central point or position of the framework should be one of voluntarism. So it should be a voluntary program where persons come in and give their service. Now, once we start to talk about targeting the age groups, that automatically includes also persons of various ethnicity and class. So we are not to believe that they will be left out of this. If they are in the community, then they are going to be a part of it. Now, the potential is enormous with this program. It can be used to support the government's poverty alleviation program. This framework that I'm talking about, with how I see it being reorganized and restructured, has a great potential to support the government's poverty alleviation policy and program. Then there is a matter now of the care of the elderly and the shut-ins. This program can be reorganized to bring that into sharp focus where you have persons who are poor and elderly. It can be used in order to help those people. Also, the poor, indigent, and homeless people as well, even the mentally ill people that walk around in communities. But the main spin off of this governance program, if it is reorganized and restructured, is that it has the potential to lead to lowering of the crime rate. Usually, these community organizations do. It could improve agriculture depending on where it is because it's a community effort and the people recognize that there is a need and they can organize in order to accomplish it. But how you structure it is what is going to determine whether you're going to get that kind of cooperation and output out of it. Then now there is a matter of the national census. This is a practical way in which these communities can, if they're organized, lead to us being able to conduct our national census in a very efficient way. Efficient and effective. This, of course, this would not be voluntary because, of course, the government is paying out money, so they would pay money as usual. But the community organizations will be able to carry out the national census very efficiently. Every 10 years, you can even do it more often if need be. But most of all, with the reorganization, I have in mind this governance framework can be deployed to effectively and efficiently deal with the matter of disasters. If we should have a disaster, and these communities are organized in the way in which I have in mind, they can help us to recover in weeks and not in the months that prevails now. Now, as I said, it is an idea that I have, and um, if I can be useful to Jamaica, in my view, getting my hand on this framework would definitely be the way in which I can make myself useful to Jamaica on a whole. Yes, yes, yes. So, to all my subscribers with very lofty ambitions on my behalf, I want to thank you all. But no, I don't think the Senate would be a spot for me. No, I don't think that I'll be very useful in the Parliament either. No, the Ministry of Finance would not suit me either. And no, I don't think that I would be very helpful to the Ministry of National Security. I can be helpful to them if I can get my hands on that participatory governance framework, because it would have a lot of impact on a lot of different areas in the country, including agriculture. Yes, man. This framework is a fantastic arrangement and it already exists. So it's just a matter now of applying the brain to it and make it work for us in the way in which it can. So, me getting hold of that, if you have such lofty ambitions for me, and I hope you do, means that we will be able to influence Ministry of Agriculture, because it can have an impact on the Ministry of Agriculture. What I have in mind, there is the Minister of National Security. Yes, it will have a big impact. Could even have a big impact on defense. It would certainly have a major impact when it comes to disaster. The coordination effort will be far more organized. And I am telling you, with what I have in mind, man, we would recover in weeks and not months. And I'm talking about every area, including the utilities. We would have an impact on the economy, big impact. When it comes to social intervention, we would have a great impact on poverty and homelessness, for what it is that I have in mind for this framework. So when I tell you that this framework has a great potential, when I saw it, I was amazed. I never knew it existed. I know about the Social Development Commission, but I did not know about this framework. And all that happened, yes, boy, may I tell you, see life? All that happened because Buster had stick it to Norman. I wanted to see if anybody stick it to Buster, and then I discovered this. And I said, and I called Karen, I said, Karen, but this is fantastic. And her ears, she said, sing and sing and sing. I just a chat about it. So, and the poor child. And the poor child can't help me anymore. And so this is where I think that if I am to be useful to government and to the people, this is where I would prefer to be. See? But sufficient to that day. I want to tell me now what you think about all of this and these little ideas that I have. And I have much more, whole heap of them me write down from 2016 now. And of course, as you get older, your brain a little bit more mature, you have more ideas, practical ideas that won't cost the government a whole heap of thing. And that also is the way we should think about everything. It must not cost the government no whole heap of money, because so we don't have it. Yes, man. So that's all I have for you today. I want you to know that I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your ambitions for me. I appreciate your input in the videos. When you like and you share the videos, don't believe we are not appreciative, because that is how we get the message out. I can sit down here and chat anything I want, but without you, nothing would happen for us, all of us. And, you share some excellent ideas and thoughts as well. Some of them very controversial. Me can't even give them a like. Me can't give them a like. But, here you're free to comment and share your views. So that's what I have for you today. I want to tell you, I want to enter into that fray, that little excitement we are going over in the Middle East. May do some research for you, see? And I think that a whole heap of little clarity might be required, so you can understand what I want and me can understand what I want too. So I want to do a little series on it. Because may I tell you, what going on over there, very interesting, you know. Yes, sir. Me no know how America go manage, but Israel finna agrees, that's all me know. And when I start that series, I hope you'll be tuning in and sharing and be as interested in the politics because believe me, military strategy is as fascinating as political strategies. So I think you're going to like the series. So I catch you next time. And don't forget, take very good care of yourselves and walk good.